Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy, a one-stop destination for the English medium civil services aspirants. So let's get started with the analysis of today's The Hindu newspaper. These are the topics that we shall be covering today. But before we do that, I urge you to like this video, drop in your comments. We've just started. We need your support, your encouragement by subscribing to our YouTube channel and by sharing the links of these classes with your friends and fellow aspirants. So let's get started and discuss Article 1. Over half of youth struggling with basic math, says the ASER Study. This is on page number 6 of today's daily edition of the Hindu newspaper, relevant for GS paper 1 as well as 2. So ASER Study is basically released every year by a civil society organization known as Pratham. Now, what is this survey? This is an annual survey which captures children's enrollment, and learning outcomes. This is basically a household survey. ASER Study, released by civil society organization Pratham, which is an annual household survey which captures children's enrollment and learning outcomes. This particular survey targeted students in the age group of 14 to 18 in rural areas. And this particular age group is very important. If we have to reap the benefits of our demographic dividend, then this particular age group is very crucial for our growth. Why? Because these are the individuals who will tomorrow enter the job market, either as job creators or job seekers. If we are not going to employ them meaningfully, then unfortunately, our demographic dividend might turn into a demographic nightmare. What does this survey talk about? It talks about something good. What is so good about this survey that this survey tries to capture? It says that there is a transition, a good, meaningful transition from elementary school, from elementary education to secondary education. Which means more and more students are making a transition from elementary education, which deals with class 1 to 8. More and more students are transitioning into secondary education, that means till 10th standard. Why is this important? Because there was an apprehension that the economic distress caused by COVID-19 pandemic will force a large segment of our students out of the schools. That means there will be higher dropout rates because of the economic distress caused by COVID-19 pandemic. But all those apprehensions have now been belied by this ASER survey report, which says that more students are transitioning from elementary to secondary education. In fact, this survey notes that today, children have more years of schooling than they ever had in the history. But when we look at this survey, students or children's enrollment is not only the goalpost, is not the only goalpost, is not the end goal. What about the learning outcomes of the students? For that, this survey paints a dismal picture. What is that dismal picture? 25%. Or should we say 1/4 of the respondents, because this is a household survey of all the surveyed individuals in the age group of 14 to 18. Of all these surveyed individuals, 1/4, 25%, they are unable to read. class 2 text, that too in their regional language. Children's enrollment is fine. We have more years of schooling for children than they ever had. But what about learning outcomes? Of all the surveyed people, 25%, they are unable to read class 2 text in their regional language. That means they lack comprehension skills. What about arithmetic skills? More than half of these students who have been surveyed, they are unable to solve basic arithmetic problems, which they should have been proficient in by class 5. For example, division of 3 letters by 1 letter. They should have been proficient in that by class 3rd or class 4th or maximum by class 5. But these students, they are unable, more than half of them are unable to solve these arithmetic problems, which they should have been proficient in by class 5th maximum. That's the dismal picture. But at the same time, this survey also talks about something psychological. What is that psychological thing? There is an acute stress on the students. And this stress is seen not only amongst the urban students, but also amongst the rural students. But rural students have one more peculiar problem, which is that they have to juggle between school as well as working in farms. These students, they have to juggle between their school assignments as well as working in the farms, working in the household chores as well, which ultimately puts an additional stress on the students. So there is an acute stress amongst these students, according to the ASER survey. But this survey also talks about smartphones. Or the use of smartphones. And this is where something interesting is going to come up. Please listen to me carefully. When we look at smartphones, the survey was conducted. According to the survey, 89% of the students said that they own a smartphone, or they have a smartphone at their home. Not just that, 92% of these surveyed students said they can use the smartphone. This number varies. For example, if you look at Indian Express, today's Indian Express newspaper article, it says that 95% of the surveyed students, they said that they own a smartphone or they have a smartphone at home. And 95% of them, boys, they can use the smartphone. 92% girls can use the smartphone. But if you look at the head of the Pratham Institute, Pratham Civil Society Organization, the head says that 89% of these surveyed students, they have said that they have a smartphone at home, and 92% of these respondents said that they can use that smartphone. But the problem is, the usage of smartphone is more for entertainment and less for education. So children use smartphones mostly for entertainment purposes and very less for education purposes. Then what do? We need to create open schooling systems. If the smartphone penetration is very high in India, even in rural India, why can't we have learning programs in such a manner that they are flexible in terms of schedule, flexible in terms of time? No matter when you want to attend a class, no matter when you want to schedule a class, no matter at what location you want to attend to that class, there should be no discrimination against you on the basis of whether you are attending the class in person or remotely. Those open schooling systems we need to encourage by the use of smartphones. That is how we can enhance the learning outcomes. Not just that. What about vocation training. The new National Education Policy 2020, it encourages blending of vocational training with the school education. For example, there are students who may not want to read science, maths, but even then we have to provide them avenues for their livelihood. So shouldn't we be imparting skills to them at an early age? Skills such as tomorrow they can become technicians, plumbers, TV, radio technicians, mobile repair. Apart from emphasizing on comprehension skills, arithmetic skills, we also need to blend our school education with vocational training so that certificates can be given to these students, diplomas can be given to these students so that they can find meaningful employment as technicians, as plumbers, as TV and radio technicians, so on and so forth. And that is how we can reap the benefit of this demographic dividend. If we don't do that, it is going to become a demographic nightmare. That is why this survey is very, very important. I will repeat, this survey titled Beyond Basics. It was released on Wednesday. It basically involved a survey by Pratham, which is the civil society organization among the rural students aged 14 to 18. That is what you need to understand from this newspaper article. Okay? Let's look at another newspaper article on page number 10 of today's Hindu edition, the daily edition of the Hindu newspaper, relevant for GS1 as well as GS2. But to understand this newspaper article, I will tell you that forget about what is mentioned here. You need not go through that. It is not too important for your examination. Please don't waste your time. But what is important for you to understand is what exactly is happening in Manipur. What is the context to this newspaper article? Hundreds of lives have been lost. Thousands of people have been displaced in Manipur. And what is happening in Manipur? For that, we need to understand the state of Manipur. Manipur consists of valley and hills. Listen to me carefully. In valley, we see Métis are predominant. There's a group, Métis. They are predominant in the valley. Hills are inhabited by tribals, such as Kukis, Nagas, so on and so forth. If you look at the religious composition as well, valley is dominated by Hindus, although there is a significant population of Muslims as well, but predominant population is that of Hindus. And hills are dominated by the Christians. And the conflict in Manipur is between those inhabiting valley and the hills. Basically, Métis and the Kukis. Majority of the population is residing in the valley. Although the valley has only 10% of the land. The entire Manipur, 10% is the valley. Remaining 90% comprises up of the hills. But majority population is concentrated in the valley. Why? Because in the valley, the standard of living is slightly better than the hills. There are at least enough employment opportunities in the valley as compared to the hills. If you look at the Manipur Legislative Assembly as well, the strength of this Manipur Legislative Assembly is 60. And valley sends 40 MLAs to the Legislative Assembly. Hills send 20 MLAs to the Legislative Assembly. In fact, the current Chief Minister, Mr. N. Biren Singh, himself a Métis, belongs to the valley. And according to various experts on Northeast, particularly on Manipur, they say some of the steps taken by the Manipur government over the past few years has driven a wedge between the hills and the valley. What are such steps that have been taken? Step number 1, eviction. Manipur government said that there are people who have illegally encroached upon the state land. This state land is particularly reserved forest. And where are these forests? In the hilly areas. So the government of Manipur decided that we need to evict those people who have illegally encroached upon the reserved forest area. And the hilly people thought, the Kukis thought, the tribals thought that this is a deliberate attack on them. The government is deliberately snatching their land from them. And the Kukis are also alleging that this was blatant violation of Supreme Court order. Because Supreme Court in various judgments have categorically said that there can be no eviction without rehabilitation. So you need to rehabilitate us before you can evict us from our own land. But the government is saying, this is the state land, this is the reserved forest area, you are the illegal encroachers and we need to evict you. This led to the clash. This was one spark. Second, poppy cultivation. The government said, we need to ban poppy cultivation. We need to ensure that we nip this evil in the bud. Those inhabiting the hilly areas, they thought that this is another attack on us. Why? Because they are involved in poppy cultivation, according to the government. And the government says that there is an international cartel also involved, which includes people from Myanmar as well, illegal migrants from Myanmar, who are also involved in this poppy cultivation. This also led to a clash. A sense of feeling amongst the tribals that they are being discriminated against by the government, which is dominated by the Métis, which are dominating the valley. In fact, in his last term as the Chief Minister, Mr. N. Biren Singh, he launched a campaign known as Go to Hills. He basically wanted to bridge this gap between the hills and the valley population. And he encouraged all his ministers, the bureaucrats, that you should spend some time in the hills. Go back to hills so that we can bridge this widening gulf between the valley and the hilly areas. But then Kukis predominantly, they viewed this campaign Go to Hills as targeting Nagas. Kukis thought that this Go Back to Hills campaign is launched by the Manipur government not to win over the hearts of the Kukis, but to win over the hearts of the Nagas. Basically, the government is now trying to draw a wedge between two tribals, Nagas and Kukis. This also led to a clash. This also led to a feeling that they are being discriminated against. The Kukis are being discriminated against. And finally came a spark. What was the spark? Manipur High Court order. Last year. You need to understand that Métis, it is not a homogeneous group. Some of these Métis have been given SC status. Some of these Métis have been given OBC status. But there was a long pending demand by the Métis that we should be given ST status, scheduled tribe status. Because once they are given scheduled tribe status, they can then buy land in the hilly areas of Manipur. Ultimately, this matter reached Manipur High Court, and Manipur High Court issued an order directing the state government that what state government you have to do? You have to expeditiously, within 4 weeks of the receipt of this order. Once you receive this order, very quickly, expeditiously, within 4 weeks of the receipt of this order, you have to tell the central government that Métis should be included in the ST category. And if Métis are also included in the ST category, Kukis are already STs, Nagas are already STs, so there will be now clash on the jobs, on the reservation, on land, on economic opportunities. And this order led to a clash in Manipur, which ultimately led to the loss of hundreds of lives. Thousands of people have been displaced. Ultimately, matter went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court last year said, and Supreme Court last year wondered, why nobody showed Manipur High Court the order of a copy of a judgment. That judgment was given by a 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court. The year was 2000. The case was State of Maharashtra versus Milind. In this 2000 order, judgment of the Supreme Court, a 5-judge constitution bench of the Supreme Court gave an order and said, no state government, no court, no tribunal has the power to amend the ST list or SC list. No court, no state government, no tribunal can amend the list of STs and SCs in this country, because this power is with the President of India. Only the President has the power to add tribes to this SC list, to add caste to the SC list. And for that, the procedure is Parliament has to pass a bill adding some names to the SC list, deleting some names to the ST list, whatever changes you want. And ultimately, once this bill is passed by the Parliament, the President notifies an order known as Constitution, SCs and STs Order of 1950. Long story short, what is the concern in Manipur? Métis, they have been long demanding an ST. Manipur High Court said, directed the state government that what you should do, you should expeditiously, within 4 weeks of the receipt of this order, send this matter to the central government, saying that Métis should be included in the ST list. When the matter reached to Supreme Court wondered why nobody showed Manipur High Court the copy of our judgment of the year 2000, wherein we have categorically stated that no court, no state government, no tribunal has the power to make any changes to the SC and ST list, because that power is with the President of India. Parliament has to pass a bill, add some names, delete some names from this list, and ultimately President will issue this order known as the Constitution, SCs and STs Order of 1950. So if Métis are to be included in ST list, that cannot be done on the orders of the Manipur High Court. That cannot be done on the directives of the state government. That has to be done when Parliament passes that bill and President notifies that order. This clash is happening, and now we see maybe, unfortunately, another spark in this clash. Now, what is the spark? This time, the process is that there is a petition which was filed before the central government by one politician saying some of the tribes belonging to Kukis, belonging to Zomis, they should be removed from the ST list. And now central government has asked the Manipur government, please share your insights that we have received a petition saying some of the tribes should be removed from the ST list. Some of the tribes related to Kukis and Zomis. This will lead to further aggravation of the problems of the clashes that we are witnessing in Manipur. And that is how every now and then you will read newspaper reports of an attack in Manipur or some clash in Manipur. So this context you need to understand. Beyond what happened in the Lokur Commission, what happened in the first Backward Classes Commission, specifically to Kukis and Zomis, you should not waste your time in getting too detailed into these conversations, not relevant for the exam, but what is relevant is the larger Manipur problem that we are facing. Clear? That's about it. Now let's look at another important editorial, regional turmoil. What is this regional turmoil? In this article, this editorial, we will link with another newspaper article on page number 1. Pakistan slams strikes by Iran, recalls Envoy. And yesterday, when we discussed the newspaper analysis, I told you that this is a very important news which will be picked up by the newspapers and news channels now. And if you read news today, right now, you will see that Pakistan has also retaliated by attacking Iran as well, by attacking some of the locations in Iran. So this is a potential turmoil that is facing West Asia. Let's understand this in slight detail. There is a war on Gaza led by Israel, something that we discussed yesterday. So keep that picture in mind. There is an ongoing war in Gaza launched by Israel. That's number 1. Number 2, Israel has also carried out strikes against Hezbollah, has also carried out strikes in Syria. Hezbollah, it is based in Lebanon. It's a Shia military and political group as well. If it's a Shia group, that means it owes its allegiance to Iran. It's backed by Iran. And it is considered that this Hezbollah has a very strong military. Iran is also vying for its share of influence in the Middle East. Israel is already a very important player. But I told you yesterday that there is this Shia-Sunni conflict, which also plays a very important role. That is why Iran and Pakistan have differences with each other. Iran and Saudi Arabia have differences with each other, centered around the Sunni-Shia conflict. So there is an ongoing war in Gaza led by Israel. Israel has also carried out targeted strikes in Lebanon, targeting Hezbollah because Hezbollah is supported by Iran. Also carried out attacks, targeted strikes in Syria as well. Hezbollah, on the other side, is also launching attack on US as well as Israel, on United States troops or their deployments in the Middle East as well as Israel. That's another development which is taking place. And something is happening where United States is involved with Houthis. Houthis, they are also Shia group centered around Yemen. If it's a Shia group, that means backed by Iran, which basically means that in Middle East, there are groups such as Hezbollah, there are groups such as the Houthis, there is Iran, there are these Shia organizations, political and military organizations, which are supporting Iran. And ultimately, the enemy is Israel, United States, Saudi Arabia, and other Sunni partners. And Houthis, what they have done, they have now done something spectacular in Red Sea. If you look at the map, this is where Red Sea is. For the vessels to go from Asia to Europe, this is the shortest route. Otherwise, if this route is blocked, these vessels, they will have to go through the Africa, through the Atlantic Ocean, and then reach Europe. What Houthis are doing, they are carrying out piracy attacks in Red Sea. They are using choppers also to take some vessels hostages as well. So look at the machinery that they have. Look at the support that they have. In fact, Houthis were previously declared as terrorist groups by United States, but then they were delisted from the terrorist group, from the designation of the terrorist group. In fact, Saudi Arabia at that time protested, encouraged, and urged United States that place Houthis on the terror list again, because these are very, very destroying potential caliber individuals in the Middle East. So all this is going on, and it leads to a point that there is some sort of anarchy in Middle East. And this anarchy is further when we look at some of the developments happening around Iran. For example, in December 2023, there was a police station in Sistan, Baluchistan province. A police station was attacked. 11 Iranian security forces died. This attack was attributed to Jaish al-Adl, which I told you yesterday is a Sunni group operating from Pakistan's Balochistan province, whose principal objective is that the Sistan Balochistan province should come out of Iran. That was one attack. Same month, December 2023, very important, high-profile security advisor of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is Iran's elite force. That security advisor was also killed in a drone strike. This month, January 2024, there were 2 explosions which were attributed to Islamic State Khorasan. There is a wing of Islamic State operating from Khorasan, which is a Sunni group, attacked Iran in January 2024. And what was that attack? That attack is significant. Why significant? General Qasem Soleimani. He was the most powerful military leader of Iran. He was considered to be the general of Quds Force, which is one of the five important organs of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Security Corps. General Qasem Soleimani was killed in 2020 by US drone attack, which led to massive tension between Iran and United States. So Qasem Soleimani was in Iraq at the airport. A drone strike took place. Qasem Soleimani was killed, and he was considered to be the most powerful military leader in Iran. January 2024, there was an anniversary of the killing of Qasem Soleimani. Next to his grave, there were 2 explosions carried out by Islamic State Khorasan, which killed more than 100 Iranians as well. So all these things were happening in Iran. Attack on the police station, killing of a security advisor, 2 explosions near the grave of Qasem Soleimani. Now Iran had to retaliate. And Iran retaliated. How? Iran retaliated by attacking what it called Israeli spy headquarters in Iraq. That was one attack. Iran also attacked through missiles some of the areas in Balochistan in Pakistan. In these areas were considered to be inhabited by the militants belonging to Jaish al-Adl. Those were responsible for the attack on the police station. So why did Iran attack now, which has led to simmering tensions between Pakistan and Iran? Pakistan has recalled its envoy from Iran. There was Iranian envoy to Pakistan who was in Tehran right now. Pakistan said, don't come back. We are cutting the diplomatic relations. Why Iran had to attack right now? For two reasons. One, it wants to send a signal to its detractors, its opponents in Middle East, that we are capable of striking hard using our military power if you attack us. That's reason number one. Reason number two, Iran also wants its own domestic audience, its own people, to get the sense that the government is capable of defending its territorial integrity, its sovereignty, whenever somebody attacks. And Iran also thought, according to experts, that United States is tied with Houthis right now. Israel is tied in conflict with Gaza right now. So this is the right opportune time to hit militarily so that we can convey to the audience, so that we can convey to the world that we are capable of striking hard. That's why Iran attacked. But according to this newspaper editorial, it says all this happened after October 7. What happened on October 7? Hamas attacked Israel, breached the Hamas or Gaza-Israel border, killed hundreds of Israeli citizens, took more than 250 hostages, including women, elderly, and children as well. Otherwise, West Asia was considered to be on the path of peace. Peace in the sense that there were talks between Iran and Saudi Arabia, brokered by China. So China played a deal maker in getting Iran and Saudi Arabia slightly closer to each other, which raised eyebrows in the United States, but that's a secondary point. Bahrain, Kuwait, UAE, Qatar, they wanted better diplomatic relations with Israel. In fact, a deal was almost done so that Saudi Arabia and Israel can restart their diplomatic relations. But everything changed because of the Hamas strike on October 7, 2023. So if there is anarchy in Middle East, if there is regional turmoil in the Middle East, this editorial says everything is centered around Palestine conflict. If Palestine conflict is resolved, or that resolution may take time, at least if a ceasefire is announced on Gaza, that ceasefire will be like a springboard, which will bring all these partners, which will bring all these players together, Iran, Israel, United States, Arab nations together, so that there is some kind of talks happening around the regional stability. So for regional stability, if there is turmoil in the Middle East, that should be centered around the Palestine issue. Once it is resolved, or at least there is a ceasefire in Gaza, it will send a good signal. It will act like a springboard, which will bring all the major players together on the discussion table so that we can have some sort of peace restored in the Middle East. That's what you need to understand from this newspaper editorial and this newspaper article on page number 1. Clear? Let's look at something else. I told you Manipur is in the news, almost always in the news. Unfortunately, bad news coming from Manipur. 2 police personnel were killed. But where? In Manipur's Moreh. Can be important for your prelims. What is this Moreh? It's basically a town, or should we say a border town, on the border of India and Myanmar. And this Moreh town, which is a border town, is located on the Asian Highway Network. Are you aware of Asian Highway Network? If not, let me show you the map. This network of highways starts from Tokyo in Japan, then Korea, then China, then Southeast Asia, then Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, then through the borders, Turkey and Mongolia. From there, it crosses over to the European side. So on this Asian Network Highway, we have this border town known as Moreh. But what is also important, that in Moreh, you will find a significant population of Tamils. How? In 1960s and 70s, hundreds and thousands of people of Tamil origin, they migrated from Myanmar to India. Hundreds and thousands of people of Tamil origin migrated from Myanmar to India. Most of them went to settle in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu. But some of them, after settling in Chennai for some time, they did not like it here and they wanted to go back to home or a place closer to home. What is a place closer to home? This border town, Moreh. And here you will find Sri Angala Parameshwari Sri Munishwarar Temple. This is the second largest temple complex in Northeast India. So who would have thought that you will find a temple in Northeast India, that too in Dravidian style? Linking art and culture with current affairs, with the security problems, that is how you need to prepare for the civil services examination. And towards the end, there are two mains-based questions that I will give you. Please write answers to these questions. Share it with your peers. Share it with your teachers who will evaluate them. You can also write answers in the comment section so that we can evaluate these answers. Question number 1. Integrating vocational education in school education would serve India well. Comment. Just like we see in China, just like we see in Germany. Impart vocational training at an early age so that these individuals can gain meaningful employment at a later date. Question number 2. Peace in West Asia is a priority for India. This energy-rich region is a lifeline to India's crude and natural gas needs and an important trade and strategic partner. Comment. These are the two questions for your mains preparation. That is it from our side on today's The Hindu newspaper analysis. See you again tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the morning, with another edition of The Hindu newspaper analysis. Thank you for staying with me. Before you go, do not forget to press the like button, drop in your comments, encourage us so that you clear this examination, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. Have a great day ahead. Goodbye.